This is a GPS special, Restoring the American Dream, How to Innovate. Welcome to all of you in the United States and around the world. I'm Fareed Zakaria. On October 4th, 1957, the Soviet Union shocked the world by launching a tiny satellite about the size of a beach ball called Sputnik. It weighed about 200 pounds and circled the Earth in a little under 2 hours. America was shocked to find itself behind in the space race and began to put energy, effort, and billions of dollars into science, technology, and innovation. Less than 12 years after Sputnik, Americans landed on the moon.
It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
Thank you.
Now, a decade into the 21st century, listen to President Obama in his last State of the Union speech.
This is our generation's Sputnik moment. We need to out-innovate, out-educate, and out-build the rest of the world.
The Soviet Union is gone, but other nations have taken its place, challenging our long-standing supremacy as the world's leading innovator. So how well are we meeting that challenge? Well, in a recent ranking of 40 countries' efforts to foster innovation over the past decade, guess where the United States ranked? Dead last. This year, China is projected to outpace us in the number of patents it files. That's the first time any other country has overtaken the United States.
The first step in winning the future is encouraging American innovation. We need to get behind this innovation. Innovation doesn't just change our lives, it is how we make our living.
In his State of the Union address, President Obama mentioned the word innovation 9 times, more than any other president ever has. And on this issue, most of his opponents agree.
The spirit of enterprise and innovation and pioneering and daring do propelled America's standard of living to go beyond any other nation in the world.
But how can we move beyond the political rhetoric and get America back on track to being innovator #1 in the 21st century? We've got an impressive lineup of innovation experts to give you some answers, both here on this special and in a Time magazine essay. From Google, Executive Chairman Eric Schmidt, the head of the U.S. military's crack team of innovators, Dr. Regina Dugan, author Stephen Johnson, economist Paul Romer, venture capitalist Len Baker, and innovation maven John KAO.
The problems are much more serious than most people realize, and the consequences are more grave than most people realize.
But let's get started by first understanding innovation and watching the effect it has had on societies over the last centuries. So why does innovation matter? Helping explain it all for us today is a man who's studied innovation from top to bottom, Stephen Johnson. Johnson is the author of a terrific book, Where Good Ideas Come From, The Natural History of Innovation. And he's going to show us the impact of innovation over time. Stephen?
Thanks, Fareed. So let's start with a long view that shows just how dramatic the change inaugurated by the modern revolution in innovation has been. This is a chart of global GDP over the last 1,000 years, which is basically the best way to measure the increase in value from new products and services created in a society. So if we start the clock here at the year 1000, in the middle of the Dark Ages, and look at what happens over the next 500 years. Basically, global GDP just flatlines. There's no change at all. Then the trading capitals of Europe start to light up, and you begin to see this slow but steady growth for the next 300 years. But then stop the clock right here. It's 1800, the dawn of the industrial age. Steam power is starting to revolutionize life in Britain and the United States and Europe. And look at what happens over the next 200 years. You see this just dramatic spike, really a global spike in GDP everywhere around the planet. Now, this is an extraordinary change, and you hear people talking about history as being this process that repeats itself sometimes. But when you think about global GDP over this scale, you realize that the expression doesn't mean anything here, because something this dramatic has never happened before over the course of human history. Now, why is it happening? It's being driven by new ideas and new innovations that put those ideas to practical use. And more often than not, it's new innovations that help us in capturing and sharing energy, and information in new ways. So let's look at one great case study of this, which is 17th century Holland. At this point in the 1700s, Holland has the highest GDP per capita of any country in the world. It's the wealthiest country in the world. What's driving that? Well, increased efficiency in capturing wind power. Think of those classic Dutch windmills, which are being used to more efficiently convert raw timber into lumber, which helps them build better ships, which are actually using innovative new designs to capture wind power at sea more efficiently, all of which leads to and is funded by innovations in the financial sector, which helps create a global trading empire, creates the wealthiest country in the world. Now let's look at one more metric, actually, that takes it to a more personal level, which is energy consumption per person. How much energy do you take in over the course of the average day in terms of the food you eat, in terms of the electricity you use, or in terms of the miles you drive over the course of the day? So if we look at that same metric over the last 1,000 years, we see actually quite a similar story. You start in the year 1000, and basically nothing changes for 700 years. You're just a flat line all the way to 1700. Then, in the first century, really, of the Industrial Revolution, 1700 to 1800, we see a 50% increase in energy consumption per person. Big jump. But look at what happens over the next 200 years, powered in part because of the green revolutions in agriculture, which are bringing a lot more food to our tables, and incredible growth in energy consumption per person. And this is actually having a physiological effect on our bodies, because as people particularly eat more food in those early crucial months, prenatal and early childhood, human beings are becoming taller and stronger and living longer lives than their ancestors.
That's fascinating, Stephen. So if you were to tell us, though, where do these innovations come from? Why do they happen?
We have an assumption, particularly in the U.S., that the private sector, the marketplace, is driving all of this. But actually, in where good ideas come from, I analyzed the last several hundred years of innovations. And what we found was, in fact, that a large number of them are coming out of public sector research or science funded by the military or the government or just kind of academic basic research. And so something like the internet or GPS comes out of the public sector, not the private sector. So the best model seems to be a kind of a hybrid where you have entrepreneurial energy, but you also have public sector funding.
And one of the things you point out in your book is that cities drive a lot of innovation. Yeah. And it seems like we're going to have a whole lot more people living in cities in the future.
That's true. I mean, maybe the most interesting stat over the last couple of hundred years is in 1800, 2% of human beings lived in cities, and now, just as of a couple of years ago, it's 50%. And when people gather together, there is just this extraordinary process where marketplaces form, ideas flow more easily, people collaborate in new ways. And so cities have historically been great drivers of innovation, and I think as the planet becomes more and more urban, we're going to see that process continuing.
Really interesting stuff. So without innovation, the world really would look very different. Throughout this hour, we're going to dig deep into the nature of innovation, how it can help America. We'll look at how we're doing, where we rank against the rest of the world. We'll examine all of America's new competition, not just in Asia, but all over the world. We'll explore ways to revive innovation in America, and ways that will not just help the rich get richer, but help the average American too. All that and more. Back in a moment.
Restoring the American Dream, How to Innovate, is brought to you by Charles Schwab. Get the help your money deserves. Talk to Chuck. And by SAP. The best run better with SAP.
Absolutely. I mean, these financial services companies are still talking about retirement like it's some kind of dream. It's either this magic number I'm supposed to reach, or it's beach homes, or starting a vineyard. Come on, just help me figure it out in a practical, let's make this happen kind of way. A vineyard?
Schwab Real Life Retirement Services is personalized, practical help that's focused on making your retirement real. Open an account today and talk to Chuck about setting up your one-on-one consultation.
People everywhere are taking a stand and booking on choicehotels.com.
When I book a hotel online, it should be simple and easy.
We have the right to take the kids on a wonderful vacation.
As long as I save 20%.
I want to guarantee that my room rate is the lowest on the web.
The new vacation bedtime?
Don't push it.
Oh.
It's your voice, it's yourchoicehotels.com. Get the best internet rate guaranteed on over 6,000 hotels and save up to 20% every day. Book direct at choicehotels.com.
You were the last to be born in a family of 7 brothers. That's why you had to sleep on the 7th bunk bed and you developed vertigo. And that's why you couldn't become a pilot and you had to study engineering. You patented 367 inventions, but only 3 made it to market. That's why you don't have an apartment on the 16th floor and you have it on the 5th. But that's where you met Carmen. With her, you had 3 children. The 4th ended up being a dog. Numbers change your life. That's why you should take control of your credit score by paying your bills on time. For more tips, visit numberschangeyourlife.org.
We've just seen in graphic detail how innovation has directly translated into rising living standards throughout history, propelling America's dramatic rise in the 20th century. But now in the 21st century, we are falling behind, and fast. So how do we get our innovation groove back? First, let's take a step back and look at just what innovation means and what makes a good innovator. Take a look at Apple. Most of us would say this is one of the world's most innovative companies. It has transformed whole industries, it's changed our way of life, and the market has rewarded it. Apple is now the 2nd most valuable company in the world after Exxon.
Thank you.
But Apple spends very little of its revenue on research. Only half of what Sony spends, for example, a quarter of what Microsoft spends. Its products rarely use new path-breaking science or technology. Apple's innovations are in how the consumer uses technology, in design, in marketing, in the overall experience of technology, information, and entertainment, and in their intersection.
It can do some of the things that PC did.
This is how it has always been, according to venture capitalist Len Baker.
If you look at the most innovative and the most valuable companies, they're much more about creating new business combinations than they are being scientifically driven companies.
Such as?
Well, so my favorite historical example is Isaac Merritt Singer, who invented the sewing machine in 1850 or so. And he invented the sewing machine, but the real fortune and the real benefit to society was he was the first person to sell to women because it was thought that women couldn't operate machinery. He invented the installment plan, he invented the trade-in, and he invented the idea of selling internationally.
One of the most revolutionary business innovations was not an exciting new scientific invention. It was the accounting system of double-entry bookkeeping, the practice of tallying credits and debts, which was invented in Renaissance Italy and led to modern capitalism and trade.
Think about eBay. eBay didn't create technology, it used technology as an input and revolutionized the way people do things.
Google is another company that has absolutely revolutionized the way we all do things. Search the internet, read news, even talk on the phone. Its executive chairman is Eric Schmidt. When you look at Google, what is the most innovative part of Google? Is it the technology of the search, or is it the business model of this amazing advertising system that you've created?
It ultimately has to be both in a company like Google. The company was started with a research idea of how to do search better. Our founders, Sergey Brin and Larry Page, invented this while they were at Stanford. The classic 2 young people at Stanford who go off to form a company and are hugely successful. Along the way, in the first couple of years, there was a question of how to make money. And then another group, again, a couple of very young people right out of Stanford, figured out this targeted advertising model. You need both.
A successfully innovative enterprise also needs to be about having fun, so that brilliant minds are inspired to creative heights. At least so says Eric Schmidt, and it means allowing people to be themselves.
The people who are very, very creative are not going to show up at 9, leave at 5, and punch a card. They're going to be interesting. They're going to be fun. They're going to be fun-loving. We're going to have free food. All the benefits of Google were fundamentally decided very early on so that people were working with each other and were creative. And people were encouraged to make the most outlandish ideas. Could we try this? Could we try that? And so forth. And those people are now running the company.
Google's top brass came up with a set of innovation principles, one of which says that employees have a license to pursue their dreams. As company policy, every Google engineer spends 20% of his time working on any project he or she wants, a concept they call 20% time.
If you look back, most of the really interesting products that have come out of Google have come out of the 20% time, where somebody starts something, he gets excited about it.
One example, after September 11, 2001, one Googler was visiting a bunch of different news sites every day to read about the attacks. He thought to himself, why don't I write a computer program that will search all of these sites for me? He used his 20% time to write the program, and soon Google News was born, a web tool that searches sites for particular news stories. Google News now accounts for 30% of all traffic to news sites on the web. But not every idea is going to be a winner. In fact, most will end in failure. The key to being a successful innovator, says Len Baker, is knowing how to fail efficiently.
The innovation process is inevitably hard to predict and very, very failure prone. And as a result, you need to make quick mistakes. You need to do efficient experiments so that you can profit by those mistakes, so you can learn by those mistakes.
So you'd prefer to find entrepreneurs who have had failures in the past?
Well, I don't, we actually don't like serial entrepreneurs because sometimes serial entrepreneurs are a little too comfortable with failure. I mean, failure needs to be painful, but not too painful.
Successful innovations ultimately hinge on the people who are in charge, Baker says. There are certain personality traits that are most important to him when he's looking for the next Mark Zuckerberg.
The two things that I think we've sort of distilled down as characteristics we look for are, first of all, high energy level, people who've sort of got the psychic energy to attack things. And the other thing is intellectual honesty. People who are intellectually honest with themselves and eagerly seek negative feedback.
One particular group of people who are known for sparking innovation are immigrants, who have always played a big role in America's economic success.
They bring with them different ideas about what we could do. They don't always feel trapped by the way things have already been done. If you look in Silicon Valley, this is very clear in the bios of the startup companies. Immigrants are one of the sources of the new ideas that create new things.
The immigration debate has been shoved aside in Washington for more pressing matters. But if we want to win the innovation race, looking closely at immigration is a great way to start. Because not only are these American-educated innovators now going back to their home countries, but then those countries take these innovators' ideas and run with them. Coming up, we'll hear from Eric Schmidt.
All of these ideas are invented in America, and then other countries which have much more aggressive industrial plans take those ideas and build those institutions.
And next up, what is the threat? Why does one man say America's innovation gap is a crisis on the scale of Hurricane Katrina?
Exacting craftsmanship, fueled by passion. Technicians as advanced as the vehicles they service. And now get all of this expertise at a price that may surprise you. Like an oil change, tire rotation, and inspection for only $29.95 or less after mail-in rebate. Not just service, certified service. Only at your Chevrolet, Buick, GMC, and Cadillac dealer.
Where do you go to find a super business? You know, the ones who do such a super job, they're backed by the super guarantee. Only Super Pages. Wherever you are, wherever you're going, you'll find the super business you need. So next time, let the good guys save the day. Get the super guarantee, only at Super Pages. In the book, on your phone, or online.
A lot of times, things are right underneath our feet, and all we need to do is change the way we're thinking about them,
A couple decades ago, we didn't even realize just how much natural gas was trapped in rocks thousands of feet below us. Technologies made it possible to safely unlock this cleaner burning natural gas. These deposits can provide us with fuel for 100 years, providing energy security and economic growth all across this country. It just takes somebody having the idea, and that's where the discovery comes from.
It's not acceptable to call me a nigger.
It's not acceptable to call me a spick. To call me a chink.
To call me a fag.
It's not acceptable to call me a kike.
And it's not acceptable to call me a retard or call yourself or your friends retarded when they do something foolish.
The R word is the same as every minority slur. Treat it that way and don't use it.
Spread the word to end the word.
CNN Tuesday night at 10. A shocking therapy to keep effeminate boys from growing up to be gay. What one family claims was the devastating result.
The only thing they did was destroy our brother. And they took him away from us.
The Sissy Boy Experiment. AC 360. CNN Tuesday night, 10 Eastern.
CNN next Sunday night, 8 Eastern. CNN takes you into the private world of Julian Assange. Wiki Wars, the mission of Julian Assange. CNN next Sunday night, 8 Eastern.
Here's one. There's one. They're everywhere. Cars with hazy, dull, oxidized headlights. Now you can't see at night. Replacing them can take hours and cost hundreds of dollars. Don't do it. Save time, money, and more. Get Fast Bright Lens Restore. The Lens Restore kit that brings your headlights back to showroom new in as little as 30 seconds. Just wipe it on and wipe it off. And watch the haze turn to crystal clear. It's that easy.
It was amazing. It was magic.
The secret is Fast Bright Lens Restore's professional formula that removes the outer layer of oxidation. Then it polishes, seals, and protects. Do it yourself in as little as 30 seconds with Fast Bright Lens Restore for just $20. Call right now and we'll cut the price in half. You get the complete Fast Bright Lens Restore Kit for just $10. But to make this the best deal on TV, we'll double the offer. Just pay separate processing and handling. You'll get 2 complete Fast Bright Lens Restore Kits, an amazing $40 value for only $10. Call or click now.
Paris and Mom Kathy Hilton on Piers Morgan. CNN tonight, 9 Eastern.
Welcome back to our GPS special, Restoring the American Dream, How to Innovate. If innovation leads to huge growth, as we learned at the beginning of the show, and if America is falling behind in innovation, where does that leave us? In a major crisis, according to many of our experts. Eric Schmidt of Google says a big threat comes from across the Pacific. Asian countries are focusing on innovation much more intensely than the U.S., stealing our thunder.
The fact of the matter is the other countries are putting a lot more money in it than we are, and we're not going to win unless we do something like what they're doing.
When you travel to places like South Korea, Singapore, China, does it worry you?
It worries me a lot. South Korea is a classic example. Who would have thought that South Korea would become the major iron, steel, and shipbuilding country in the world? Makes no sense, right? Not the right choice of natural resources. But 30 years ago, in their organized way, they decided those are the industries they're going to go after, and they build a fine product. So the Asian model works really, really well from the standpoint of productivity for the country and innovation. We've got to find a way to marry that with our cultural ideals and our democracy here in America.
Schmidt says that China is already starting to challenge the U.S. as an innovator, sooner than we might have imagined.
The evidence is that the Chinese companies are beginning to do things that are innovative. Much of the new networking ideas are coming out of a company called Huawei, which has a research campus as large as Silicon Valley in a far city in China. So it's perfectly possible that these people will begin to get into the spaces that America has historically dominated.
Everywhere you look, there are troubling signs that suggest America is falling behind on innovation. Government investment in research and development has stagnated. From 1953 to 1987, there was a 4.9% annual growth rate in spending. From 1987 to 2008, there was a 0.3% annual growth rate in spending. By 2013, China is projected to overtake the United States as the world's leading publisher of scientific research. And China is gaining on us in advanced degrees in engineering and technology. In 1995, they produced less than 13,000 master's degree graduates, about a quarter of our total. 10 years later, they turned out over 63,000 master's graduates, beating out America for the first time. For some, that's reason for concern, but economist Paul Romer has a different take on the rise of the rest. How worried should we be when we notice that the Chinese are approaching and even surpassing the United States at some point in the number of scientific articles that they publish, patents that they register?
The answer is almost not at all. To the extent that the Chinese participate in the discovery of new things that we can use at the same time that they use them, we can benefit from all of their discoveries.
So if they create a new medical technology that saves heart patients, we benefit.
Yeah.
But what if they discover in newer and newer processes of manufacturing and we can't find the same level of innovation in innovative companies?
So in that case, it's probably best to think about the comparison between Britain and the United States. The United States started out behind Britain, but we tried some things differently. We had room to innovate and do different things. We became more productive and more successful. And more recently, Britain started to copy what was working right in the United States.
Author John KAO thinks, however, that America should be concerned about an innovation gap with other countries. In his latest book, Innovation Nation, he describes America's innovation problem in the starkest of terms. Think Hurricane Katrina, he says, a crisis of national competence. Are you pessimistic?
I'm worried. I think, and I'm worried partly because I think that the problems are much more serious than most people realize. And the consequences are more grave than most people realize. So,
what are the consequences?
We become the payers of rent for other people's innovation. Right? So other people get rewarded for their innovation productivity. Our best and the brightest go abroad because they can find more financing and better working environment, more government subsidies. But I think there are even more serious consequences. At its heart, the innovation gap and the erosion of innovation capability is a national security issue. You know, you think about the growing importance of the digital domain and cyber elements in terms of generic military operations that one can imagine in the future. Well, we don't have a monopoly on those technologies anymore. There are other countries that are actually quite good at doing digital things.
If our innovation problem is a national security issue, as KAO says, there's one government agency whose sole mission is to buck that trend: the Pentagon's innovation arm, DARPA. Their cutting-edge technologies aren't limited to the battlefield. They often help you and me. Ever heard of the internet? Well, DARPA invented it. Really. We'll show you their latest innovations in just a bit. But first, what makes innovation happen? The private industry or the federal government? You can imagine people disagree on this one.
Revolutionary technology. Driven by precision. Technicians as advanced as the vehicles they service. And now get all of this expertise at a price that may surprise you. Like Durastop ceramic brake pads installed for only $74.95 or less per axle after mail-in rebate. Not just service, certified service. Only at your Chevrolet, Buick, GMC, and Cadillac dealer.
We're talking hour, sometimes 2 hours.
Every day, sometimes multiple times a day.
About twice a week.
I call my parents and my sister.
Have friends that live in Italy.
In Guadalajara.
The United Kingdom. All over the world.
Call International Mobiles without getting gouged. Switch to World Premium Unlimited, a new plan from Vonage. Now unlimited calling to more mobile destinations than any other phone company.
When I switched to Vonage, I felt freedom.
Find your unlimited plan at 877-4Vonage or go to Vonage.com. Don't wait, switch now.
The deeper you go, the more good things you learn about oil and natural gas, an industry that supports 9.2 million American jobs, with 20% new jobs in natural gas alone since 2006. And from the energy and manufacturing plants to the fertilizer on the farm to the building blocks for tomorrow's medicines, we're fueling all kinds of jobs. So the next time we discover more oil and natural gas together underground, think of all the good that means above ground. Log on to learn more.
Distracted driving. It accounts for 25% of car crashes. Music
music, cell phones, food, the list goes on.
This is why safe driving is so important.
Correct.
And it's why the best agents help safe drivers get a lower rate.
Oh, exactly.
We are insurance.
We are farmers. Bum, ba-dum, bum, 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 bum.
Every week, CNN Money correspondent Christine Romans gives you financial tips that will change your family's balance sheet.
In this economy, you have to be smart to get ahead.
Smart is the new rich. CNN Mondays at noon. Brought to you by Ameriprise Financial.
Closed captioning brought to you by Sandals Resorts, the luxury included vacation.
Where everything is included, sometimes the greatest luxury of all is doing nothing at all. Save up to 65%. Call 1-800-SANDALS.
Mitt Romney makes it official. Now he sits down with peers for his first primetime interview. The economy, Obamacare, Sarah Palin. Nothing's off limits. CNN Monday night, 9 Eastern.
Are you one of the millions of people struggling to learn a new language? Well, thanks to our breakthrough software called Rosetta Stone, learning a new language is now incredibly easy and a whole lot faster.
I've probably learned more in the first 2 weeks than I have in months of taking formal classes.
Rosetta Stone is so fast and effective, it's used by the U.S. State Department, NASA, the U.S. Army, and Fortune 500 companies, and is the world's leading language learning software.
It's almost like having your own person there teaching you, your own private tutor who is just very relaxed in your home with you, sitting there teaching you the language.
Rosetta Stone is the fastest way to learn a new language. And to prove it, we'll send you our amazing demo CD, absolutely free when you call.
This really is a great program.
I believe that you can learn any language with this program.
So call now or visit our website and see for yourself why Rosetta Stone is the fastest way to learn a new language, guaranteed.
Wiki Wars, the mission of Julian Assange. CNN next Sunday night, 8 Eastern.
Our journey into innovation has taken us across a millennium and around the world to discover how innovation can be a boon for America and how America finds itself falling behind. Now we'll look at solutions. What can we do to catch up? Author John KAO says instead of the haphazard approach that the nation takes to innovation today, we need nothing less than a grand strategy for American innovation.
We have people who are trying to look at education reform. We have people who are looking at life sciences. We have people who are looking at defense-related innovation. But we don't really have an integrated national strategy based on a vision of what it's for, which also has a narrative which the American people can embrace.
So who's doing it right? What nations are the world's most innovative innovators, if you will? KAO points to several examples, starting with one of the smallest yet richest countries in Asia, Singapore.
The government of Singapore has decided, for instance, that they can't do everything, so they're actually going to have a strategy. The strategy is going to be to focus on 3 areas: life sciences, digital media, and clean tech. Each one of them has resulted in the building of almost a mini city for innovation to focus on and to develop a physical platform within which those disciplines can thrive. The Biopolis in Singapore, for example, is slated to hold 7,000 PhD scientists in the life sciences area. By comparison, NIH, our crown jewel in public sector life sciences, has about 10,000 PhD scientists. So to put it in perspective, this is a country about the size of Long Island or, Chicago, throwing their hat into the ring and saying they're going to be a global leader in innovation in life sciences.
Asian countries like Singapore aren't the only nations with an eye toward innovation, KAO says, pointing also to Scandinavia.
Finland has a national innovation strategy. They have a fabric of financiers of innovation, both public and private sector. They even have an innovation manager for the city of Helsinki. So it's not just at the national level, it's at the metropolitan level as well. In Sweden, if you want to know who runs innovation in Sweden, you look in the phone book and there's Vinnova and there's a person's name associated as director, and you can call them up and they say, yes, I have 300 people at Vinnova and we do innovation policy and science and technology, and we weave together a national narrative for innovation. I'm sorry to say that at the moment in the U.S. government, you try to find the name of the person who's responsible for innovation, there's no name and there's no phone number.
Our government's lack of coordination on innovation has caused us to shoot ourselves in the foot. America missed out on growing some cutting-edge industries, says Eric Schmidt, industries that we actually invented in the first place. Case in point, solar power. The technology was invented in America, but the Chinese government spent lots of money to subsidize the manufacture of the panels, and now they are the world's leading producer of that product.
They're fundamentally taking ideas from America and building those industries, and they're doing it with a directed government program that is anathema to the way we run America, and we're losing because of it.
Are you saying that you would like to see the American government do some of the things that the Chinese government does in terms of providing capital and other kinds of access infrastructure for fledgling technology?
We're going to have to do something like that. We're going to have, for example, some kind of a guaranteed load program or a matching program.
In Schmidt's part of the world, Silicon Valley, there's a long history of government involvement. But Len Baker, a Silicon Valley-based venture capitalist, says government should leave innovation to the market.
I think the issue with the government is that, you know, just as if you say all politics is local, all economics is ultimately a microeconomic. And the real question is, what is the process by which government funding, which is inherently centralized, gets translated into microeconomics in a way that it can actually connect with these small groups of entrepreneurs.
The Chinese government is making massive investments in clean tech, in infrastructure, in science. If they're doing it all wrong, they're certainly getting a hell of a growth rate out of it.
Well, China, I think, is a really interesting example, because if you think of the Chinese economy as being divided between government-linked companies, state-owned enterprises, and private sector companies, the productivity of capital in the state-owned enterprises is very, very low.
But if government-run enterprises can be inefficient at times, the private sector isn't perfect either, says Schmidt. Take the venture capital industry. It will fund new social networking sites galore, for example, but there is a reluctance to finance large-scale, cutting-edge manufacturing companies.
It's very hard to get venture funding if you're a company that needs $100 million to build a brand new plant for advanced materials, or a new form of plastic, or a new form of steel. It's very, very difficult to find the kind of capital. It's too expensive for venture, and it's not predictable enough for private equity. It means that this valley of death, as it's called, means that all of these ideas are invented in America, and then other countries which have much more aggressive industrial plans take those ideas and build those institutions.
Schmidt says that America's public sector has scored many successes in fostering innovation.
That we did this to develop the farming industry in America in 1910 and 1920. Most of high tech, most of the revolution that got us all to where we are today came out of the military-industrial complex and the post-war funding in the 50s and 60s, when it was understood that the military value of the science was so great and the spin-offs would be even greater. So there's a long, long history of American government essentially focusing on things, not so much focusing on a specific company as a winner. That would be anathema to, again, America's competitive notions, but focusing on industries.
The history that Schmidt mentions continues to this very day, and it's embodied by this woman, Dr. Regina Dugan, who is leading the charge for innovation at the Pentagon. Over the years, her agency came up with the stealth fighter, the beginnings of GPS technology, and the internet.
We are motivated in part by our defense mission, but that has cascading benefits to the society as a whole.
And later, we'll answer the most important question of all. Can innovation improve the lives of every American?
The United States is in danger of becoming a nation of innovation haves and have-nots.
Thanks to advanced natural gas turbine technology from GE, the power that'll help make our nation more energy independent is right here in America. Advanced gas turbine technology from GE.
My
first ride lasted just 30 seconds. Another reminder of what I couldn't do. The accident could have been my excuse to quit. I made it my reason to go even harder.
Helping people achieve without limits. At the Hartford, it's what we do and why we're the founding partner of the U.S. Paralympic team. Show your support at facebook.com/The Hartford.
Where do you go to find a super business? You know, the ones who do a super job. Superpages.com. For local maps, reviews, and videos, it's the only local search site with the super guarantee. So next time, let the good guys save the day. Get the super guarantee only at Superpages. In the book, on your phone, or at superpages.com.
Dogs all across America are now begging to go for a walk because now there's the amazing Mesh Comfy Control harness that puts a smile on their face. Unlike collars that apply inhumane pressure to your pet's neck, it's really agonizing and may cause injury as your pet pulls even harder. The Comfy Control harness sends control signals to the chest and body, does not hurt the neck. So now you and your dog can both enjoy an easy, controlled, comfortable walk. Unlike some harnesses that need to be buckled and adjusted correctly or the dog is not comfortable. The Comfy Control harness is a conforming mesh vest that slips right on, custom adjusts in seconds. Then just clip on the matching 5-foot leash, and you're ready for a secure, stylish, comfortable walk. Its soft, conforming open weave construction allows cooling airflow, does not constrict the neck.
I've been training dogs for over 20 years. What most dog owners don't know is that unless their pet is properly trained, more than likely they will pull due to opposition reflex. The Comfy Control harness puts pressure evenly on the pet's chest. No choking. Dogs instinctively respond. This harness is the best way to train puppies right into adulthood.
The strong yet soft mesh lets your energetic pet enjoy maximum unrestricted movement for fun playtime. And it's available for dogs of every size. Get the Comfy Control harness with matching 5-foot leash starting at only $10.99. Call now and find out about free shipping. And as a bonus, we'll double the offer. You'll receive a second Comfy Control harness. Plus, you'll also receive the Crazy Critter. Just pay separate processing. Look, dogs everywhere go crazy for the plush stuffing-free Crazy Critter. That's right, you'll get 2 Comfy Control harnesses with matching 5-foot leashes and a Crazy Critter. An incredible $50 value, all for only $10.99. Remember, call right now and find out about free shipping.
Call 1-800-903-6002 and get your Comfy Control harness and free leash. Today's orders also get a bonus second set and the Crazy Critter. So call 1-800-903-6002 and find out about free shipping. 1-800-903-6002. Call now.
The New Hampshire Republican presidential debate, live, CNN, June 13th, 8 Eastern.
Hello, everyone. I'm Don Lemon, live at the CNN World Headquarters in Atlanta. Here are your headlines this hour. Massive wildfires in Arizona are forcing thousands to flee their homes tonight. More than 250,000 acres have burned over the past week. One of the largest in state history is the Wallow Fire in northeastern Arizona near the town of Springerville. The cause of the blaze, which has scorched 180,000 acres, is under investigation. Yemen is celebrating the departure of its president, at least temporarily, and the possibility of a truce. A spokesman says a tribal leader has agreed with Yemen's vice president to stop the fighting. President Ali Abdullah Saleh is in Saudi Arabia getting medical treatment after being wounded in an attack on the palace. But the government insists he will return.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God.
That is frightening. 13 people were hurt when a gust of wind blew away 3 bounce houses in Oceanside, New York. It happened at a soccer tournament Saturday. Kids were in the inflatables, which also mowed down parents trying to save their children. Our affiliate News 12 Long Island reports one person used a knife to deflate one house. No major injuries and no criminal charges are expected. Those are your headlines this hour. I'm Don Lemon. We return you to the CNN special, Restoring the American Dream, right after this.
The race is on to see who will win the 21st century, so we thought we'd talk to the people responsible for winning the 20th century by out-innovating the competition. one small government agency within the vast Pentagon bureaucracy has had a lot of success spurring innovation. It's called the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, also known as DARPA. Created in 1958 in response to the Soviet Union's launch of Sputnik, DARPA's mission is to maintain the technological superiority of the U.S. military. They've done a pretty good job over the years, coming up with the stealth bomber, the M16 assault rifle, the unmanned aerial drones that have been used in Afghanistan and Pakistan. But many of DARPA's innovations have had an impact on society well beyond the military. DARPA-funded projects include the internet and the technology behind GPS, which of course powers the new mobile revolution.
You can think of defense a bit like a mini society, and it has many of the same problems of the society as a whole, from energy to healthcare to communications. So it's no small surprise that many of the advances we make at DARPA have cascading implications for the larger society as a whole.
The high stakes of providing sound technology for soldiers in combat motivates the DARPA team to create the best technology in the world.
They simply must work in all number of austere situations, life and death, and that kind of urgency, it focuses the mind. It inspires greater genius.
Scientists and engineers come to work for DARPA for 3 to 5 years, focusing on a particular project in any number of fields, including quantum mechanics, mathematics, and biology. These program managers oversee research projects at businesses and universities all over the country. Most famously, DARPA funded the first version of the internet, then called ARPANET. In 1969, computer hubs called nodes were able to send messages to each other over a phone line.
That original investment was about $150 million, and that gave birth to the internet, now about $300 billion later.
These days, DARPA is working on a slew of exciting innovations, including Big Dog, a groundbreaking project in robotics. The idea is to create a robot with animal-like capacities and strength that can go with soldiers on combat missions in rough terrain.
When you watch the Big Dog video, what you'll see is that it really looks like a dog moving. And it has all sorts of other attributes that make it resilient in difficult environments.
Another project is called Blue Angel, created in 2009 to combat the H1N1 swine flu pandemic. Scientists came up with a way to determine who has the flu before they get symptoms. They've also invented a new, faster method of producing vaccines.
The conventional way of producing a vaccine takes about 9 months, and it's done in eggs. What we have done in the Blue Angel program is use tobacco plants to make the protein necessary to produce vaccines. And we can do that in 1 month as opposed to 9 months. Very fast.
Since Dr. Dugan became director 2 years ago, she's revitalized her agency's commitment to the intersection of open-ended blue sky research and applied sciences, a focus that produced many of DARPA's signature achievements. Do you think we're at another Sputnik moment where there are challenges to America's innovation skills, its innovation lead?
One of the significant challenges that we are concerned with is the ability in the nation to make things, to manufacture things. Now, this is very important for defense applications as well, as you might imagine. And we are investing $1 billion over 5 years to significantly advance the state-of-the-art in manufacturing.
In December 2009, the 40th anniversary of the internet, the agency led a challenge to promote innovation in social networking. A contest was held to find 10 red balloons, each 8 feet wide, moored in different locations across the country, with $40,000 going to the winner.
The first team found them in 8 hours and 52 minutes, an astonishingly fast rate.
And using the internet, how do they find them?
They use the internet and social networks. And in fact, 5 researchers at MIT learned of the challenge 48 hours ahead of the balloon launch. And with 5 initial emails, they reached thousands of people that could in turn reach millions of people. In 8 hours and 52 minutes after we launched the balloons, they had all the locations.
Researchers say that their advanced social networking could be applied to stopping terrorist attacks or finding missing children. How do you protect against the politicization of this? Some senator calls you up and says, you know, you should give money to my state or my constituents.
Well, our projects are competitively assessed, and we assess them on their scientific merit. We have a mechanism for doing that, and it is at the hands of the scientists and the engineers.
No outside interference, no political interference.
There is no political interference in the selection process for projects.
Dr. Regina Dugan has spent most of her career thinking about innovation. I've spent the last few months getting my arms around it. When we get back, I'll tell you my own conclusions, and we'll answer the most important question of all. Can innovation really create jobs right here in America?
Restoring the American Dream, How to Innovate, is brought to you by Charles Schwab. Get the help your money deserves. Talk to Chuck. And by SAP. The best run better with SAP.
I've got to stop just imagining retirement, start finding real ways to get there.
I've got investments all over, but I have no idea what it all adds up to.
I know I should, but who's got time to roll over a 401k?
From a dedicated specialist to handle your 401k rollover to a personalized one-on-one consultation all about making your retirement real. Schwab has the practical help you need to get your retirement act together. And it's all just part of being a Schwab client. Open an account today and talk to Chuck about rolling over that old 401k.
America is facing some tough challenges right now. Two of the most important are energy security and economic growth. North America actually has one of the largest oil reserves in the world. A large part of that is oil sands. This resource has the ability to create hundreds of thousands of jobs. At our Curl project in Canada, we'll be able to produce these oil sands with the same emissions as many other oils. And that's a huge breakthrough. That's good for our country's energy security and our economy.
CNN Tuesday night at 10. A shocking therapy to keep effeminate boys from growing up to be gay. What one family claims was the devastating result.
The only thing they did was destroy our brother, and they took him away from us.
The Sissy Boy Experiment. AC 360. CNN Tuesday night, 10 Eastern.
Wiki Wars, the mission of Julian Assange. CNN next Sunday night, 8 Eastern.
Paris and Kathy Hilton give their most emotional and revealing interview ever to Piers Morgan.
I just felt so betrayed.
CNN next.
Our mom lives life with a passion.
Full throttle every day.
But she's not as limber as she used to be.
Of course, she wouldn't admit it, even after she fell climbing out of her old tub.
She's had to slow down.
And that's been frustrating for her.
We wanted her to remain independent.
So, we got her a new Premier Care walk-in bath.
When mobility becomes limited for any reason, it's time to consider a Premier Care walk-in bath with our exclusive hydrovescent therapy. In fact, Premier Care is the first walk-in bath and shower company to pass stringent testing requirements to receive the Arthritis Foundation's prestigious Ease of Use commendation. Premier Care has developed a full line of quality walk-in baths and walk-in showers to fit most every mobility need and available space. Choose the walk-in baths and showers commended by the Arthritis Foundation. Choose Premier Care and Bathing.
For your free information kit, call 1-800-934-7312 now.
Tested, trusted, recommended. Premier Care.
The New Hampshire Republican presidential debate. CNN Monday night, June 13th.
As we marvel at the possibilities of innovation, we still need to ask a fundamental question. Will innovation bring America jobs? And how can we ensure that these new jobs created by innovation won't go overseas? It's true that U.S. manufacturing jobs are generally going abroad, generally to Asia. But Google's Eric Schmidt says it's possible to keep the latest high-tech manufacturing jobs here in the U.S. if we back certain industries.
There are people who are working on new forms of materials, new plastics. When you touch them, they move. They respond to heat and location and temperature in ways that are fantastic. This research is done in American universities. Manufacturing plants for that need to be near where the research is done. Another example has to do with nanotechnology. Nanotechnology is the manipulation of things that are very, very small. And with nanotechnology, you can build personal drugs of one kind or another, new kinds of materials, and so forth. All of those factories will be built in the United States because it's too new to put it somewhere else.
Now, let me give you a few of my own conclusions, having worked on this special and talked to all of these experts. We've learned that innovation has been the key to our dramatic economic growth and our rising standards of living. Stephen Johnson showed that earlier. There's no question of innovation's importance. We've also learned that innovation comes in many varieties, from the private sector and the public sector, from businesses and universities. Len Baker reminded us that innovation isn't just about science and technology. It's about inventions in business and business processes. And these kinds of innovations really come out of a fertile private sector. We saw the perfect example of that in Google. But I have to say that I am still persuaded that the government has proven to have a powerful role in innovation, at least in the past. Look at all of the achievements of DARPA in inventing the internet and GPS. Without them, America and the world would be a very different place. And after all, the fastest growing economies in the world today, China, South Korea, are using the government to fund research, to promote innovation. In industry after industry, they're establishing commanding leads because of government policy. So I think we need both government support and a vibrant private sector to foster innovation. But my final thought about all this is that even if we do out-innovate the rest of the world, even if we maintain the cutting edge, there is still a big question. Given the way technology works and globalization works these days, will innovation benefit the average American? Will he or she have a better job as a consequence of innovation? The answer is, we can't be sure. Take a look at Apple, the model of an innovative company. It employs about 50,000 people. Then you've got Foxconn, the company in China that makes most of Apple's products. It employs over 1 million people. The small number of engineers, designers, and executives at Apple are thriving. But the jobs are going to hundreds of thousands of workers in China. Unless we can solve this problem, innovation might prove to be good for some Americans, but not all. Here's John KAO.
The United States is in danger of becoming a nation of innovation haves and have-nots. So there's a segment of the population that they may have started a company, they may have gone to a good school, they may have the skills to be able to innovate. But I think there's a growing potential for a disenfranchised part of the American public that are not beneficiaries of the innovation economy, are not able to originate within that. And to the extent that the funding, the education, and the infrastructure become less and less available, there'll be a sort of a large group of disenfranchised people in this country.
Economist Paul Romer agrees that not all Americans may end up reaping the benefits of innovation. But he says there is a solution.
The best way to avoid that rising inequality from new technology is to do a better job of educating people. This is the make or break issue for the United States. If we can do a better job of educating all of our young people, they'll take full advantage of the new technologies, and we won't have this problem of widening income inequality.
So it all comes back to education.